Number 6 is controversial. Also, my waistband can't take all this vegan goodness. I'll tell you a story, a horror story of Australian transport. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Yvette. I just moved to London about 2 months ago, so I am just doing a series of videos telling you my first impressions on various different things about UK life and culture. This video is going to be all the things that I love about the UK. Some of these things I knew before I moved, because I travelled here before I moved. Some other things were just new to me when I moved, or I didn't realise as much until I moved here. So, firstly, the internet. Now, I knew a little bit because in Australia the internet's so bad that anywhere's better than Australia for the internet. So I get 200 megabytes download and then 20 megabytes upload. In Australia, I'm lucky to get 15 megabytes download and then 0.6 upload. So that's a lot of jargon, I get that. Only an actual internet nerd like me would understand. Reality for that would be, is that to upload a regular YouTube video, such as this one, nothing fancy, 10-minute video, would take 6 to 12 hours. So I would have to upload that overnight, because otherwise it would just cap my internet and I wouldn't be able to stream Netflix, I wouldn't be able to watch YouTube, I wouldn't be able to do anything actually productive with my time, because it's all being used to try and upload this file onto YouTube. And downloading, if you're trying to download shows, YouTube would often get stuck and buffer and all this kind of stuff. Whereas here, if I upload a 10-minute YouTube video, it takes 15 minutes. That's so crazy to me. I can get through so much more work. That's why I've kind of picked this up more and more the more I've lived here, because just the opportunity is so much better to actually output information, because it's just I've wanted to do this for so long, wanted to put videos up, but if you're trying to upload overnight and an error happens, you have to wait a full day to put it up again. So trying to keep your schedule is very, very hard. And I obviously put up 3 videos a week. So it's really hard for me to maintain that on an internet that hates you. So the internet, I go on it daily. I go on about it daily to everyone and everything, and I often just send screenshots of my speed tester to people because I'm so excited about it. Number 2 is the tube. The tube, look, it's also on my hates list, but in general, so well designed. You can get anywhere in the city on the tube. You don't even need a car. I have a car for work, but reality is you can get everywhere. And then if for some reason the tube doesn't go there, there's a bus. The transport in this country is so good. Or in the country, I'm making the claim, in the country, because you even have national rail. I'll tell you a story, a horror story of Australian transport. This has become a rant video about how much I don't like Australia. I swear it's things I love about London. I tried to get the train from where I live in Sydney to the city at peak hour at 5:30. So you would think there are a lot of trains. That is peak hour. You would have lots of frequent trains coming. There was a 20-minute wait for one train into the city on a weeknight at peak hour. Here, just for comparison, they come every 2 minutes here. 4 minutes is a long wait in this country for a tube train. And then you've also got the national rail, so you can catch a train to Scotland, which is to another country, or to Paris if you want to do the Eurostar. There's literally nothing to compare that to, because we don't have a national rail in Australia, even though we should definitely have one to at least Melbourne, because that would not be that long. You have to fly everywhere. It's absurd. So the tube is called the London Tube here. In Australia it's called City Rail, and it's called Shitty Rail or City Fail. Infamously, everyone would know what you mean if you said that. That's how much the nation hates it. Also, you can't get around. So its timing is bad, and it's also laid out bad. So even if you get into the city, you have to walk or catch a bus. There is not a good design. I'll let it go. I'm not there anymore. Can't hurt me anymore. I'm out. Let's keep it positive. This was a positives video. As you can see, Sydney transport triggers me. If you're Australian, tell me that I'm not alone. Tell me below. The one thing that I got so excited about when I moved here that I knew but didn't know was how many dogs there were. So we've just flown Bambi. Okay, my little companion who's come to sit with us for the video, she has just flown over, like she's only been here like 4 or 5 days now. But before then, I would go for a run around the park near my house, and I would just count the dogs when I went on my run. So I would go for a run for like an hour or so, and I used to post it online. I'd be like, I went for a run today and I saw X amount of dogs and it was a good day. And it just got to the point where there was too many dogs that it sounded like I was lying. So I'd be like, went for 10 Ks today and I saw 67 dogs. And like, that sounds fake, but there are so many dogs, and I love dogs. So it makes me very happy. Makes me happy that I bought my little dog over, because like I wouldn't have flown her over to England if it wasn't a dog-friendly culture. But you can take them on the tube, which we did on the weekend. You can take them to markets, you can take them to pubs, you can take them to some restaurants. It's super dog-friendly everywhere. So I love dogs, bring it on. They're basically humans to me. I like them better than most humans. The fourth, I think we're up to, thing that I love about living in London is how polite people are. Generally, everyone is just very considerate. If you drop something, they'll chase you down and give it to you. They let everyone off the tube before you get on the tube. If you watched my previous video about culture shocks, I mentioned this one time when I just moved here, like a week, and someone crossed the road who was jaywalking, so they were in the wrong, and the cyclist almost hit them. Instead of yelling at them and telling them off, the cyclist turned to them and said, if you don't mind, could you please not walk when the red man is on, please, thank you. And I was like, what? Yeah, if that was Australia, there might be a fight. There'd be a lot of cursing and anger, but like, so nice, so polite. I love it. This is my environment. I'm not an aggressive person. Avoid conflict. Love it. This is number 5. It's the parks. I have traveled to a lot of places. I've been to many countries, as you can see by my travel wall behind me. London is the greenest city I've been to. So what I mean by that is there's literally parks everywhere. I've been to New York. Obviously they have Central Park, which is massive, but outside of that, there's not a lot of green space. Whereas you can't go far in London without having some level of green space, which also goes back to how great it is for dogs here. But also great for me is because I love being outside. I love greenery. I love the outdoors. And so having these massive parks everywhere makes it really nice. And they're also so usable. So the grass is really green. Oh, that sounds really dumb. The grass is really green. Grass is green because it rains a lot, but it's really soft and lush and comfortable to sit on. You can sit in the park and just chill out. In Australia, we have bindies, so they are needles in the grass that will stab you, so you don't go on the grass barefoot ever, let alone sit on it, because then you get bindies in your bum. And it's also really dry and crunchy because of the sun, so like our grass doesn't grow unless you water it a lot, but we're in a drought, so you can't really water it a lot, so green spaces are not naturally occurring. We have to really try, and so no one really tries because it's an effort. So also you get sunburn if you sit outside. So having all these like wonderful green spaces with shade, and it's soft and it's nice and there's nothing stabbing you, it's just really nice. So I love the parks. I love being able to get outside no matter where I am in a big city. Number 6 is controversial. Once again, I've been here 2 months. It is currently July, but it's about to be August. We're at the end of July. I like the weather. I know that's like the number one thing Brits like to complain about, but we had one really hot day here. It was like the hottest day on record. Classic, I come here and it gets like to 40 degrees, which is like every summer in Australia. But on average, it's 25 degrees. It's just nice. You're not sweating. It's not freezing. Even it like in summer, it fluctuates between 25 and 14, which is just so nice to live in. Obviously, I haven't done the winters. I have been to cold places before. I've been to China where it was minus 20 degrees Celsius. So I know what cold is. And so my projection, my forecast is that winter is going to be cold here, no doubt. But as long as it doesn't get too much below 0, it doesn't seem to bother me. Because like, as long as you're dressed for the weather, it's okay. You know what I mean? So like, as long as I can have a jacket on, that's fine. So I can't see it being an issue. Now, I'll compare that to what I've been from. So an Australian winter is basically a British summer. So it's winter there now. It gets up to about 22 degrees and it gets down to about 6 at night. So it's a big range, but it does have really nice days and it's sunny all the time. So I know that sounds really nice, and it is. Winter's not bad in Sydney. It's the summers that are bad. Now I know everyone's like, oh my God, the weather's so great in Australia. Don't talk to me until you've had to put a suit on in 37 degrees and go to work. Because it's hot. So 35 degrees is like beautiful weather if you're on holidays, but to try and live in it's another story. I find summers in Australia, they're just not usable because often it gets too hot to do anything. So I can't, if I want to go for a run or workout, I have to get up at 5 or 6 a.m. because it's too hot by 9 a.m. to go for a run. By too hot, I mean it's over 30 degrees. And if it's over 30 degrees, you're like at risk of heat stroke. So that's why you don't work out over 30. So that's not just me being a wuss, like it's a like medical thing. I can't go outside, like you can't go to the shops. It's like a sprint to the car and then the seatbelt will brand you. It's, yeah. And then obviously I got to worry about like the pets. So obviously in extreme heat, if I'm at work, I don't want to leave the dog outside because she's going to be out in like 35, 40 degree heat, which is not good for her to not have any shelter or shade, and like she'll have water, but that's going to be hot too. So there's just so many factors that make it really hard to live in. Once again, fantastic for a holiday. Go holiday there. But I'm happy to take the UK's mild temperatures anytime because it's much more livable. I love how much is happening in London. There's like so much happening that you could like go to a massive festival and no one else even knew it was on because there's so many other festivals around. In Sydney, there was a farmer's market where I lived that shut down a bunch of roads because so many people got excited that something was finally happening. So there's always something to do, something to see. There's the theatre, like you can go to see a play. There's always a concert. I went and saw Spice Girls. I've seen Muse. I bought tickets to go see Cursed Child. Like, that's more than I've done in years in Sydney because there's just not that much to do. If you type in like what's on in Sydney, it's like art museums, blah, blah, blah. So I just love how much stuff there is to do here. And like I said, a lot of it is even free, which is even better. Number 8, vegan food. I am vegan. We all know this. I make a lot of taste testing videos. There are so many vegan restaurants in this city, which to be fair, like I said, I've traveled a lot. Australia is probably one of the worst countries for being vegan. Sydney's not too bad, like you can make it work, but outside of that, there's no chance. I've actually had to come to terms with the fact that I won't be able to go to every vegan restaurant in London. There's just too many, which is such a good problem to have. Like, what a complaint. I have too many options, which is like definitely not my choice normally. There's just not enough choice. So I'm like, now I've got too many choices and I'm indecisive and it's so good. Also, my waistband can't take all this vegan goodness. If you go to Brick Lane on a weekend, every food vendor has something, and then in the Brick Lane food hall there's a like weekly vegan festival of just like pop-up booths of vegan food. It's so good. I love it. Number 9, I love how much history there is and how much culture, and the buildings are so like nice. Such not a very good word, but you know what I mean. Everything in Australia was built basically within the last 50 years, and that was largely during a depression, so a lot of the buildings are boxes. They're not very like pretty. They're functional, but not pretty. Here, everything's like sandstone, it's like ornate, it's beautiful. You got the lovely Victorian houses that are everywhere, which looks like that's my dream to live in one of those. And yeah, like Sydney City has like a town hall and it has Queen Victoria building, but outside of that, the buildings are just buildings. It could be any city. Whereas here, everything is like rich in culture and history. And then if you even walk across Tower Bridge, they're like, oh yeah, like Sir William Wallace's head hung up there, and you're like, what? This is, what was her name? Mary Queen of Scots was beheaded in Tower of London, and like there's just like so much relevancy from history, or at least my history being Anglo is here, whereas in Australia it's like nothing happened here because we were born yesterday. So being surrounded by like this history, being a part of history, I love that because I'm a history nerd. Lastly, number 10 is the NHS, which obviously, what's not to love about the NHS? We have Medicare in Australia, so I am used to having free healthcare, so it's not coming from a US situation. But I did have a friend who has an autoimmune disease that came and needed help, and she saw a doctor, got a blood test done, had her results given to her all for free. So surprising and warms my soul to see them just, if you're in need, they help you. And it's just so good. I haven't needed the NHS yet, hope I don't need the NHS, but I love that it's there, and I love culturally that people support it and love it so much, just because they want to help their fellow person, their fellow man. Everyone wants what's best for each other. So everyone's happy to help the NHS. It's great. I love it so much. Okay, so that is 10 things I love about London. So that's 10 things I love about living in London. Now I am going to do the alternative one, which is 10 things I hate about living in London, because with every positive comes a negative. But I wanted to do the positives first because I'm a positive person. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and tell me in the comments below if you hate any of these things. Like, you might hate dogs, which would suck for you if you lived in London. And remember to hit subscribe so you can see the alternative of what I dislike about living in London. I will see you then. Bye.